Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the anticipated releases I had for 2022 and whether or not I actually read them. The way that I went about forming a list of anticipated releases for 2022 was watching everybody else's lovely videos on their anticipated releases and writing down the ones that I also thought were interesting. So shout out to Elliot Brooks and Booksandlala and all of those wonderful YouTubers who made those videos. I certainly didn't make a video on it, but it did help me compile a list of books that I was excited about for the year. Most of these anticipated releases were from the first 6 months of the year because, you know, in January we didn't know all of the books that were going to be coming out in December necessarily. So most of these are from January through June, but there are a few in the latter half of the year as well. This is my paper. So I was gonna start highlighting the ones that I read or the ones that were out, and I've got star ratings, I've got when they were released, and all sorts of things. And there's no rhyme or reason to this at all. So I'm going to give you an edited version, and we're going to go in the order of the year. Also, I'm not going to be giving you too much of a summary of what these books are about. I'm just going to give you the genre and the age range and what I rated it if I read it. In January, I was excited for the release of How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, which is an adult epistolary sci-fi literary fiction novel, and I did read this and I did cry and I gave it 4 stars. In February, we had some real bangers and some real disappointments. The first book in February I'm going to be discussing is a new favorite of mine, and that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and this is an adult sapphic rom-com, and I loved this and I gave it 5 stars, and I've read it twice this year. However, the next rom-com didn't live up to my expectations, and that is I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson, which is an adult Achillean rom-com, and I gave this 2 stars. This is a second chance romance, and we didn't get to see their first go at the romance and why they broke up at all, which I didn't enjoy. Oh gosh, then we have a novella, Servant Mage by Kate Elliot. I read half of this novella and was bored, so I did not finish this book. Another 5-star read for me is the space opera horror novel Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. I loved this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was creepy and sciencey, and I loved it. Also in February was yet another disappointment. A recent read for me was Scorpica by G.R. Macallister. This is an epic adult queer fantasy novel, start to a series, and I gave this 2 stars and I did not really enjoy it, and I won't be continuing the series. And the last book for February is another new favorite of mine, and that is Legends and Lattes, the independently published version. This book is also being traditionally published, and the traditionally published version is also available now. But I picked this up in February, read it, loved it. This is an adult slice of life fantasy novel, and it is also sapphic and delightful. Definitely a new favorite. I read this twice this year. If you would like further thoughts and feelings on Legends and Lattes, I also have a review up for this on my channel as well. Moving on to March, we have a book that I have not read yet, and that is The City of Dusk by Tara Sim. This is an adult queer fantasy, which is why I was interested in it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet, and I hope to add this to my TBR. Hopefully I can get it from the library very soon. Also in March, we have The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller. I did read this. This is an adult fantasy story, and I ended up giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I actually have a full review up for this book on my channel if you'd like to go check that out. A March release that sadly for me got pushed to 2023 is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, and this is a queer sci-fi novel, adult sci-fi novel, and I was really excited about it, but alas, it is not being released until 2023. In April, we have Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel, and I freaking love this book. This was a very recent read for me. I read it in October and absolutely loved this book, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. In June, I was hyped for Locklands by Robert Jackson Bennett, another favorite of the year. I gave this adult fantasy trilogy conclusion 5 out of 5 stars and absolutely sobbed my eyes out. If you would like to see that, I have a vlog and a review up for this book as well. In July, we have quite a few books to talk about, the first being Upgrade by Blake Crouch. Now, sadly, this is my least favorite Blake Crouch that I have read, and this adult sci-fi thriller just kind of let me down, and I ended up giving it 2 stars. One that I have not read is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. Now, Ruth Ware is really special to me because she is the author that got me into thriller horror novels, and so I was anticipating her newest release. However, I am less interested in picking this up after seeing some reviews of it, and also this is apparently more like a mystery novel and less like a thriller, which doesn't intrigue me as much. So I may still pick this up, but I'm just not as hyped for it as I was in the beginning of the year. I was also anticipating Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey because they are a favorite author of mine, and Just Like Home is a horror novel, and I absolutely loved this and gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I actually have a video about Sarah Gailey as an author if you would like to check that out as well, but this was also a slam dunk for me. One that unfortunately didn't quite work for me was a disappointment by another favorite author of mine, and that is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. And this is an adult sci-fi historical novel, and I just did not click with these characters, sadly, and I ended up giving this one 2 stars. I love Silvia Moreno-Garcia so much though, and I will continue to read everything she writes, and I am currently reading another book by her. The last book I'm going to be talking about from July is a book I have not read and I'm still really pumped for, and that is called A Half-Built Garden by Ruthana Emrys. This is a queer adult sci-fi. There's a theme here, and I just haven't gotten around to this, and I want to get it from the library very soon, and I need to start slotting in a little bit more sci-fi. The latter half of this year I've been reading a lot of fantasy, which is great. I love fantasy. It's probably still my favorite genre, but I'm kind of missing my sci-fi books as well, especially if they're queer. Half-Built Garden is a book I'm definitely still hoping to get to at some point. Then in August we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, and I did end up reading this, and I really enjoyed this, giving this adult dark academia fantasy historical fiction novel 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think this is a new favorite of mine. I definitely have some critiques of this book, but I think this is a solid read and an important book in it of itself. All right, 2 books left, 2 months left as well. In September, we have The Genesis of Misery by Neon Yang, and the way that I've heard about this book is that it is a adult sci-fi queer retelling of Joan of Arc. Give it to me now. I'm so excited about this, and obviously it came out in September, so it's only been out a few months, so I hope to get to this pronto. I need this in my life. And the last anticipated release that I had on my list was The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. And this, as of filming this video, this came out 4 or 5 days ago, so I haven't had a chance to read it, but I am in the middle of it already. So hopefully by the time this video goes up, I will have read and completed this book. But as of now, I have not finished this. Brandon Sanderson is a really solid author for me, however, he is not without his flaws. So I am looking forward to finishing this one and hopefully putting it on a favorites list. We'll see how it goes. I had 20 books on my anticipated releases list that I created for myself at the beginning of 2022. And as of this moment, I have completed 14 out of 20. Of those 6 that I have remaining, 1 is a DNF, 1 got pushed to next year, 1 is a book I am not really interested in anymore, and the remaining 3 are books I'm still super pumped about and hope to get to very soon. And that is The Half-Built Garden, The Genesis of Misery, and The City of Dusk. Did you create an anticipated releases list for yourself for the year? I would love to know if you kind of keep up with bookish publications in advance. What are some that you have been really excited about? Did they live up to the hype and your anticipation, or did they let you down a little bit? I would love to know. Anyway, that is it. That is all I had to say on my 2022 anticipated releases, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Bye everyone.